Oh, for Jiminy Cricket's sakes. Seriously, PD? Seriously? You're ending servers of what's planned to be the final Gran Turismo number game ever 3 months from now? This ain't gonna look too well for them, is it? Or really for anybody. According to PD, it's still the plan, aka there's something not planned, that GT6 is the final GT number game ever. Gran Turismo 7 is not planned. That's still correct according to PD. It might change later, but for now, that's still how it is. And yet, PD's still deciding to end the final GT number games online servers in 3 months. Not to mention, GT6 has 1,200 cars, which is over 4 times more than Gran Turismo Sport will have at the very max at that point. GT Sport's supposed to get about 50 cars roughly in that amount of time, but still, even if they do, GT Sports car list will be 4 times or even more smaller than GT6 is. GT6 has a whole heck of a heap more tracks too, and there hasn't really been any talks yet about GT Sport getting more tracks. So, yeah. Pretty much in 3 months we're losing 3/4 of a video game. We can't play 3/4 of a video game with each other anymore. Granted, I know Sport has its advantages that GT6 doesn't have better graphics, supposedly better physics, livery editor, blah blah blah. But still, you can't compensate for 900 cars that we're not going to be able to use against each other now in 3 months. That's just... It's disappointing just in that fact alone. And it's even worse in comparison too, because EA, I don't necessarily think anyone has all that high standards at EA, especially at this point in time. They kept a game around whose franchise doesn't even exist for almost 10 years now. Burnout Paradise will be 10 years old January 22nd, 2018. There's no end of its online in sights. Nothing's been announced for its online end. It may be around 10 years from now. Probably not, but we didn't expect it to go this long, so who knows. And that's an EA game. There's Criterion there too, but they're not even a company anymore, so it's I guess completely EA now. I don't really know. Don't buy DLC for that game because that money probably completely goes to EA, but that's a different video too. What I'm saying is EA keeps a game around for 10 years. PD can't keep a game that's still popular around for at least 5. Burnout's not even a series anymore. Gran Turismo is arguably the most successful racing series ever. And yet Burnout stays around over twice as long as GT. And there's also just the simple fact of they're doing this to boost GT Sport sales. It's pretty obvious. But GT Sport ain't going to sell as much as 6. They shouldn't kill a game that's ultimately more popular just to help the game in need. I guess some people could say this is a good thing because obviously a game's going to sell more, the company's going to make more money, so maybe they'll put it back to make games better. They just have more money to make the games better. But GT6, as is pretty big and good. It's as good as it's going to get. That's pretty obvious at this point. So they really are already be killing a game that's good just to try to make a game that's kind of iffy better? I know some people say Sport's the best Gran Turismo game of all time because, well, those are sort of kind of the Seto Corsa Project Cars type fans who just GT is a better alternative. I kind of agree with them. I played the Project Cars 2 demo, watched that for more, but it ain't as good as 6, at least in my opinion. And it definitely ain't as good on paper. There's a whole heck of a heap less cars, tracks, all that. So they're basically helping a game that's just forever going to be behind in some ways, no matter how people word it. GT Sport will never have 1,200 cars, ever. It won't. Even PD said its max is going to be about 500 or so. It's still not even half. And they're already killing a game that's possibly we're never going to get something like it again. I know it's sad, but it's as of now, PD even says it's true. We ain't going to get another GT number game as of now. We ain't going to get any of the old tracks. Nothing's been announced yet. The cars that we're getting are going to be... I mean, they're going to be odds and ends. The specifics have already been announced and we got the ones in the 110 update. Beyond that, we kind of don't know specifics. For Jiminy Cricket's sakes, we even saw something about a Lamborghini tractor being made. Take that as you may, but there's been nothing said specifically about what we're even going to get in the future. The only thing that's been said specifically at this point is that GT6 has no future. I'll give PD the benefit of the doubt, and I'll end at a relatively positive note, being this. Even though March 28th ends the track path to the track creator, you can't make any more of those. I'm going to give PD the benefit of the doubt because they did do this successfully once. GT allowed to keep the GT5 created tracks. Good for PD, good for Sony, whoever ran that side of it. They allowed GT5 tracks to be kept, the ones that were the created tracks. So in theory, that means GT6 will allow that too. GT5 could do it, I would hope GT6 can as well. So good for PD there. Or whatever company made that app too. I don't know if that's like Sony or PD or whatever, but still. Those tracks should stay. I'll give the benefit of the doubt there and say, yay, that's good on PD. That will definitely help the gameplay. Because you can have 50 of those, I think. And with the kind of crazy tracks that have been made, that's infinite gameplay in the sense of if you have 60-meter home straight, that's a whole nother video too. Watch that. That can make the gameplay a whole heck of a heap more as well, but even still, eventually that's going to die out. Eventually that's going to get old. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They're extending it as long as it can without online. But I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt of that they're not extending online. Online at this point, I'd say, is the majority of Gran Turismo 6 players. I don't think anyone denies that. I don't think anyone at this point can deny that GT6 is probably going to end up selling more than Sport. I don't think you can statistically deny that either. So basically, they're killing off what's left of a game that's superior to help a game that didn't really work. There's really no way to word that nicely. They're looking greedier than EA for Jiminy Cricket's sakes. And they're hurting the majority of their fan base. Statistically. Granted, I'm sure a lot of that fan base has moved on or whatever, just in the simple fact of GT is an old franchise. So probably of what was left of the old fan base, they might have gained just as much or more of a new fan base from Sport, but still, statistically speaking, like let's say World of Warcraft for an example, they have a giant fan base. Most of them have moved on, but still, if they were to make a completely different game, it would make a lot of people still mad. AKA what's happened here. Yeah, PD's thinking about the future, kinda, sorta, but realistically, their past is better than the future. I don't think many people can deny that. So instead of trying to help a future that looks rocky, I say just make the past last for as long as possible. There's nothing wrong with the past, it's good enough. GT6 sold more than any other Forza game on PS3. Or Forza on Xbox, but you get what I mean, that era. There's nothing wrong with it, so why can't they keep it around longer? I think it might be greed. They're greedier than EA in that sense. They don't have microtransactions, but they sure is the game going not keep servers up as long as a lot of people would like. I ain't necessarily saying GT6 will be up for 10 years, but not even making it 5 is kind of sad, honestly. So let's hope GT Sport gets more stuff to be like GT6. As of now, though, it's looking kind of bleak, honestly, for the games looking like the old ones. 110 is about the only thing we had certain that made it kind of like the old ones, and even that got quite a bit of negative reviews. I was fine with it, but a lot of people didn't really like it. And in fan base as a whole being angered about the current game, plus not even get to have the old game, that's not going to work. PD's going to need to do something and do something relatively soon, or there's going to be some... moving on, I'll just say that. And that ain't worth a yeehaw, is it? Hopefully there is something worth a yeehaw in the future.